All right, internet, we'll play your game. Mac vs. Wild. Mac vs. Wild. Mac, the internet has gone crazy over the last week asking who would win in a fight? 100 men or one gorilla? One very large silverback gorilla. I will ask you right now, Mac, who wins in a fight? 100 max or one gorilla?
So here's the main issue with this argument is 100 is a lot, and like clearly you think you might be able to overwhelm the gorilla, but if there's no weapons, that means everything's going to be like up close and personal, and that means there's also like no means to having 100 people with hands on. Like you could maybe do waves of like 8 to 10 people, and so then really it becomes an argument of can 10 waves or 12 waves of 8 to 10 people defeat a gorilla. And then that's a much different argument, right? So like 8 to 10 me's? No, I don't think so. 8 to 10 John Joneses? Now we're having a conversation here. There's a whole strategy thing that's got to be involved here, because like no doubt we're losing a lot of men. We're losing a lot of max. I think it's possible. I would not bet on myself or the 100 John Joneses. I see an avenue as to how it could happen, but like I don't think you could really choke a gorilla out. So that's like out the window, right? You would have to just like maybe blind it initially as much as you can with some fucking eye punches. I don't know. It's not a gorillas are pretty dense, pretty thick, way fucking stronger than humans. I think if you're near water, it helps. You might be able to drown the fucking thing. That's probably your best case scenario, but I don't have faith in myself or 100 of myselfs against a gorilla.
Mac vs. Wild. Now, Mac, what if it was a hive mind? Do you believe with a hive mind of 100 max, say a Mr. Smith situation,
Okay.
does that help?
Yeah, so you're thinking, let's think Matrix Reloaded here.
Yeah.
That courtyard fight scene with 1,000 Mr. Smiths. That would be ideal if you could just overwhelm the thing. I don't know if it's possible. It's all about the hands on. If you could get 20 guys on the gorilla, you might be able to stop it, and then you have the next couple guys come in and just fucking throat punch, eye punch. I don't know. I haven't been close enough to a gorilla to assess how many people could get hands on a gorilla, and that's like there's something to also be said about like once the first 10 get their limbs ripped off, are the other 90 even going to want to get involved? So I don't know. I think it's possible. I wouldn't bet on it.
Mac vs. Wild. But what if you are now dealing with a Mac 1 through 100 situation, much like a Mickey 17, where it's a bunch of rogue agents that might not have the same goal in mind?
Oh, no chance. No chance there. The only way that's possible is if, different versions of me have different weapons or have weapons in general.
No weapons are involved.
Yeah, so no weapons is absolutely 0% chance.
So like Mac vs. Wild.
Yeah.
You could also look at human beings as being able to create tools out of nothing. Even, finding your surroundings. We are at the top of the food chain, Mac vs. Wild. I believe that there is a reason why gorillas don't rule this world, Mac vs. Wild.
We also have to take into account that gorillas by nature are pretty, they're interested in things and they're curious about things, and they're not necessarily just apex predators in the sense like, I don't know, like a big cat might be. Like a gorilla might let you coexist with it as well.
So Mac vs. Wild, you look like a giant baby. What
Right.
if the gorilla wants to start babying you and, mother you?
That's my life now. I'll take that. Yeah, why not?
Mac vs. Wild. And you could look at an example in the wild where in Japan, they have these Japanese murder hornets that are 2 inches long. These motherfuckers are scary. And these things can go into a beehive and destroy the bees. if the bees are not working together. But if they are working together, a hive of bees can take down one of these murder hornets. I just think it's all about teamwork, Mac vs. Wild.
It's certainly about teamwork, but again, flying is a whole different thing. Like, you get a couple bees on that sucker, and then it can't fly anymore, and then it loses a lot of its, plus side type of thing. One of the big things that I have in my argument against large dogs like wolves is they can't climb, and you can get the upper ground. That's not the case against big cats. It's not the case against gorillas or anything that can climb. So you lose that aspect of it. I have no faith in a hive mind of 100 bees beating a gorilla.
Well, what the bees do is they'll surround the hornet and they'll use their body temperature to almost incinerate it.
Okay. All right. I don't think I'm capable of that.
You can't do 100 naked max on a gorilla and then you
Just
heat it up
cock.
so much. Mac vs. Wild!
1 goo 3 yeah. Goo. Jaws 3. Goo. King of Queens. Goo. Meryl Streep. Entertainment.
I'm Goo.
And I'm Mac.
And I found the gorilla sound effects to be too boring, so I went ahead and took some Donkey Kong sounds.
Okay. Just trying to figure out what that was. Goo!
Yes, Mac!
There's a new Marvel out that's supposed to be nuts. We should go see that.
Thunder!
This week, Thunderbolts. Very, very frightening.
May I ask you, Mac, what is your favorite AC/DC song?
Oh, Dirty Deeds.
Oh, Dirty Deeds is good. I was thinking Shook Me All Night Long or Hell's Bells.
Dirty Deeds, done dirt cheap. Dirty Deeds and the done dirt cheap. Dirty Deeds and
I'm surprised you didn't just have a, you know what my favorite song is? Big Balls. I really like when they
I've got the biggest balls of them all. What a catalog.
That is the Beverly Hills of the AC/DC catalog.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
I've got big balls. She's got big balls.
Dude, this week,
Guys, this song is great. Let's put it on an album.
We are discussing Thunderbolts ***. This is the 36th cinematic entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Plus, we also have 11 seasons of television, so that makes this the 47th individual entry into the MCU. We are creeping up on 50. Thunderbolts concludes Phase 5, ends Phase 5. Fantastic Four will be the movie that kicks off Phase 6. Goo, Thunderbolts is targeting a $75 million opening weekend. I hope it does better than that. Brave New World got to $88 million, but again, we don't have that big name. We don't have Captain America in the title. And it's hoping to get to 160 to 175 million worldwide. Prior to Brave New World, Goo, only 3 post-COVID MCU movies were under 100 million domestically on their opening weekends. That was Eternals, Shang-Chi, and the Marvels. I think what that tells you is the Marvels at 46 million instantly became underrated. Shang-Chi's kind of underrated as well. We don't really need to talk about Eternals. Goo, this movie early on this week got its Rotten Tomatoes score in the 90s. I believe on Metacritic it was in the low 70s or high 60s.
That's okay.
Early on. And we're like, oh, so this should be pretty good. And rapid reaction after I left the theater, and I said, wow, that's really good. Is it great? I don't know, but that's really good. That's a really good movie, and it's mostly self-contained.
I also think that it builds upon what we love in Marvel movies and superhero movies, where it's off-brand team-ups. We like team-ups with characters that we don't know a ton about. Our favorite Marvel movie is Guardians of the Galaxy. Our favorite DC movie is The Suicide Squad. This is fairly similar, where it's these are worse people than the Guardians, but roughly the same. But in Suicide Squad, they don't really have like the self-reflection of the things that they've done in the past and, having to deal with that. These characters are constantly in their own heads and are dealing with accepting their past, depression, finding purpose, seeking fulfillment, having an emptiness in their life. And I think the movie does a great job with that.
That's a good comparison, a good movie to sort of throw this up against is Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I feel like The Suicide Squad is more fun and funnier.
Yes.
This is a better script, probably a better story, a little more emotional, but that's a good comparison
I would
here
say
as we
it's more
talk about.
emotional. I'm not sure if it's a better script per se. And
I
also,
think it is.
I think that has better pants tent moments.
I agree. That's more fun, maybe
Yeah.
more higher up
Color,
superhero
there's a
action.
lot more color in the
Yeah,
Gunn movie,
yeah.
and both of them are James Gunn movies, actually. Also, I think that Florence Pugh is a standout that movie does not have, like
She's awesome.
a grounding force, a real force,
Mm.
because that one is way more cartoonish. This one has Pugh and her depression and just not wanting to be by herself anymore.
I don't even want to be around anymore.
She said that for 2 straight hours.
Thunderbolts is a PG-13 action, adventure, crime, drama, fantasy, and sci-fi movie. Goo, I thought it did a pretty good job at like all of those things. It wasn't too sci-fi until we get to the third act, and then we have like a 5 to 10 minute sequence involving like the Void
Yeah.
or the character the Voids. I don't know what you would call it. And that was really cool. It does a little bit of everything, and it does it all pretty well.
It's very Doctor Strange-esque.
It had vibes of that, yes.
Yeah.
This has a runtime of 126 minutes, just over 2 hours. As I mentioned early on in the week, it was a 90-something. Rotten Tomato score currently 90% after 185 reviews. I'll check on the audience score if we have one in a second. On Metacritic, a 68, standing strong, and that's pretty good, especially for an off-the-beaten-path Marvel movie. This movie is written by Eric Pearson. We would know him from his work on Agent Carter, Thor Ragnarok, Godzilla vs. Kong, Black Widow, and Transformers 1. So he's had himself quite the start to a career. Upcoming, he is the writer of the Fantastic Four movie, First Steps, something called Fast and Loose, and he's attached to that Blade movie that's probably never happening. The second writer on this movie, Goo, is Joanna Callow. I've never heard of her. All of her credits are television-wise, but she's the showrunner for The Bear. She's written episodes of Beef, Hacks, and BoJack Horseman. She's known pretty much for her producing so far, but she obviously contributed in
There's a lot of BoJack Horseman in this movie, I'll tell you that much. There's been a lot of talk about BoJack Horseman around the office over the past week or so.
Okay.
And it seems like everyone dipped out of that show at the exact same time when we all became horribly depressed.
I never got into that show. You were into it for a while.
I really enjoyed it. And
in.
then once they started getting back into the flashbacks of his mother, no thank you. No thank you.
So I think she's got a bright future, Joanna Callow. This movie is directed by Jake Schreier, also a person I have never heard of. He directed Paper Towns and Robot and Frank. Robot and Frank I've never heard of. Paper Towns I've heard of, not seen. He also directed an episode of Skeleton Crew, 6 episodes of Beef, and other various TV stuff and music videos. So it sounded like Callow and Schreier have worked together in the past. I thought the direction was actually pretty strong in this. There were some really good shots in this movie, and like right out of the gate too. I really enjoyed the camera work and the directing here.
I also thought that this movie, tick over 2 hours, flew.
Yeah, pacing very strong. And good to that point, just looked up the Variety T score for the audience. 95% from the audience. That's that. The Marvel's back, and it's better than ever. It's
I called that during the movie draft.
Marvel's
I said that when this movie comes out, everyone's going to say that Marvel's back. Classic.
They kind of have a point.
Nostradamus.
They kind of have a point.
But also, I don't know. The one thing that you can jump off of this movie with is don't just have all of your movies be assembly line movies. And I think that's what the issue, say, with Brave New World was. It felt like an assembly line movie. This, while it did have its Marvel tropes, the first act did have a lot of the same type of Marvelisms, but I like how, let's say, deep they go with all of these characters.
I also think that because we are 47 entries in, we absolutely have to ask the question occasionally during plots of certain stories, where the hell is so and so? Why the hell doesn't so and so show up? This movie did a really good job not getting to that point where, like, oh, so and so should be there, or this hero should be here.
Well,
Why is
maybe
that
you could
person
say,
not
like,
here?
where's Strange? But maybe Strange is off in a different dimension. Where's
Yeah, yeah.
Spider-Man? He's trying to kiss a girl.
But we only get to that point with like 10 minutes left, and at that point,
Yeah.
things get wrapped up. So I thought it did a really good job being self-contained and also not reeking of, hey, they're purposefully ignoring a certain character, a character that should be there. So that was this movie's strength as well. Synopsis: Goo. After finding themselves ensnared in a death trap, an unconventional team of antiheroes must embark on a dangerous mission that will force them to confront the darkest corners of their past. So very much like
Yeah.
Suicide Squad, as Goo mentioned.
No, but
And
I think this movie does a better job of the characters actually having to confront their past.
yep, and I think part of that is because we have so much Marvel history, the
Mhm.
MCU history, where this is more grounded and more real. Whereas in the DCU, it's been a bit more
It's
cartoonish.
grounded and more real with their 3 super soldiers and their
but
ghost. But
but
also, so with that, I do think, this movie, if you're looking to bring kids to it, I think this might really be one of those PG-13 movies. Wait until they are a teenager because it's super gun heavy. And then also, it's not something that they shouldn't see. It's something that they should see with you, and that's a good conversation to have with your kid after.
that's a good point. For a superhero movie, this isn't really geared to like your 8 to 10-year-old kid. And it does say PG-13, but there's plenty of PG-13 stuff that an 8 to 10-year-old kid can handle. This is probably
Just
one
like,
that
okay, like let's compare it to Thor: Love and Thunder. There's a
right.
lot of silly stuff in there that a kid
Yeah.
might like,
Mhm.
but then you're also dealing with the cancer stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This,
Yeah.
I think, tonally is geared more toward the 13 and up.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's dealing majorly with mental health, and we'll get into that in the
Drug use
spoiler
as
section.
well.
Yeah, that as well. Dude, this movie stars Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Louis Pullman as Robert Reynolds, aka the Century, David Harbour as Alexei Shostakov, Red Guardian, Wyatt Russell as John Walker, U.S. Agent, Hannah John Kame as Ava Starr, Ghost, Olga Kurilenko as Antonia Dreykov, Taskmaster, Geraldine
Why are you laughing?
Viswanathan, Geraldine Vis- it's about as many lines as Taskmaster had. Geraldine Viswanathan as Mel, Wendell Pierce as Congressman Gary, and Chris Bauer as Holt. Um, I think that those first three, actually those first four, Pugh, Stan, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Louis Pullman, were fantastic in this movie.
I agree
Absolutely
with you
demolished their roles.
on 3 out of 4.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I may be talking about her entire run in the MCU, not that great.
Oh, I really liked her in this movie. Maybe
I
okay,
did
maybe not fantastic, but she was very good in an expanded
I
role.
would throw her out the window. No, yeah, throw her out the window. And then I would say that David Harbour as Red Guardian, I think the comedy in the movie, because he's not in there telling jokes. It's the way that he delivers his lines is almost a laugh every single time.
He's good.
I think that once he enters the movie, that's when it kicks up.
He's good. He's pretty one note, but he's a successful one note.
Yeah, but
He
he's
does
someone that, so like we said, dealing with your past. So you have a lot of these characters that are dealing as past mercenaries, as people that would go in there. They have a lot of blood on their hands.
yeah,
Wyatt Russell's character was at the top of the mountain at one point
right.
and then crashed all the way down to being so disliked that he then had to deal with stuff with his family because he couldn't get over it. Whereas David Harbour's character, Red Guardian, kind of similar in the fact that he wasn't able to stay with his family because he was so obsessed with his past, but he was obsessed with the good parts of his past, and he couldn't
Right.
get over the great parts of his past.
No, I agree. I don't know. I guess I expected that out of David Harbour more than I expected sort of, and you know, I don't know if you have watched Veep, Goo. I know you are aware of Veep and you've seen some episodes, but from beginning to end, I don't know how much you've seen. In that show, Julia Louis-Dreyfus really is a villain. And you get kind of, you know, some of that in this role here. I think she does a really good job being very hateable. And that's not easy to do in terms of like it's easy to hate a character because they stink, but hating a character because they're a good villain is different. And I thought she did a very good job in this movie.
I thought she was
Uh
fine.
to that point, one of the characters that were introduced here, or the main character introduced in this movie, is Lewis Pullman as Robert Reynolds, Bub,
Bob.
aka Century. He was so good.
Mhm.
So good playing like, hey, I don't know how the fuck I got here. And then like when he makes his turn, I thought he was really good. Like he was asked to do a lot, he did a lot. I think he crushed it. And I thought his chemistry with Florence Pugh was awesome.
I also like the fact that he delivered most of his lines with marbles in his mouth. Like he was very his diction was not good in this, but not everyone should speak like that. Someone
Right.
who, especially someone that doesn't have a ton of confidence in what they're saying, should be speaking really low and not out of their chest.
Right. And like looking down and to the left, like not
Yeah.
making eye contact. He did a really good job with whatever guidance he was given.
So, Mac, like I made the comparison earlier, because going into it, I was expecting a Guardians experience. And while we did get anti-hero, reluctant hero, found family, this definitely went further. And you got it out of the chute with Florence Pugh. First scene of her just feeling empty, having this void, needing to find guidance in her life, seeking fulfillment. This is something that like Thor kind of gets into a little bit in his movies, but they went a lot deeper in this.
Yeah, I think they did a really nice job sneaking in thematically in the undertones of this movie, something rather heavy
Yeah.
but they don't hit you over the head with it because it's just sort of the constant beat of the movie with
Mhm.
almost all of their main characters. And so it is a movie that, and this is why I was claiming that it was a better script than the Suicide Squad, because there's a real message in here that
Mhm.
you come away with at the end of the movie being like, yeah, that's actually like there's a little bit of a heartwarming thing in here. And
Yeah.
I know it's a superhero movie, and we did love the Suicide Squad. And there's a lot of fun in that movie, but there's just something a little different in this movie that kicks it
It's
up a notch
different.
in
And
certain
yeah,
areas.
I like that they went off the beaten path with that theme. And because of it, and I know that you say, oh, since Endgame, this is the most unique MCU movie. I would even say since before Endgame, because the Avengers movies, they're Avengers movies. Probably since like not Love and Thunder, probably since like Ragnarok and its
I think
uniqueness.
that, and I think No Way Home stands out obviously because of all the paths that got
Yeah.
crossed. But it's obviously where it's apples and oranges trying to compare this to a No Way Home, even though I might have liked them in almost exact same range area. But yeah, it's a movie that I think that non-super, like if you're not into superhero movies, I think you can still really like and enjoy this movie because it's more grounded, less power type stuff. There's some good action set pieces in there. That's not just a color explosion of magic. Like this is just a baseline good movie, regardless of the superhero and MCU aspects.
And it's all behind the dead eyes of Florence Pugh.
That's just so
The
good.
dead,
So
lifeless
good.
eyes throughout the
Yeah.
entire movie
Yeah,
until
it's great.
a little flicker of light.
Bub.
Boom. All right, shall we do the gauntlet?
Let's do it.
Fun factor, not super fun. I thought some of the funner scenes was early on when it was more Marvel-y, but the better movie was after they got past it. Like when they're trying to escape from the vault, that's fun teamwork of, people that really haven't dealt with each other. But then once you get more into the story, it's not as fun, but it's way more interesting.
Oh, by the way, if you are listening to this before you go into the theater and then going to listen to the rest when you come out, there's a mid-credit and a post-credit. So stay the whole time.
Oh, also, I know we haven't done this in a while. We're 25 minutes in. We recommend it. This is actually the first Marvel movie in a while where on the ride home from the theater, my wife said, we should see that again.
Wow. How about that?
When is the
to her.
last Marvel movie that you rewatched?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think
See?
of the more recent releases. No Way Home I did rewatch. I
Okay.
rewatched the Marvels too, actually. Yeah, maybe the Marvels, I guess. The fun factor in this movie is the back and forth amongst the crew we're given here, because they all have slightly different characters, and this is why we always like the fun group team up dynamic, because it leads to the fun factor.
Satisfactor. I was very satisfied. And some people have called the final battle anticlimactic. I actually liked that because it wasn't just the normal. Like, I think the worst part of WandaVision is in episode 9, they went away from the entire first 8 episodes
Mhm.
and they just started throwing light at each other. This didn't just turn into a big punch 'em up. It did something a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree. And to be honest, when I was watching it happen, I wasn't sure if I liked it. And
Yeah.
then maybe like 30 minutes later, when I had gotten home and was thinking about the movie and was taking notes, I was like, you know what? I really did like that ending, because it fits with
Yeah.
everything the movie was driving towards, everything the movie was talking about, everything the movie was leaning on.
Talking about
It
it.
really fit.
Talk it out. Talk it through.
Yeah.
Let's not just try and fist each other. Let's try and
Wow.
really what?
Is that
Borometer.
Tim Allen?
No. What's that?
Is that Tim Allen?
Oh. I could have done that for Mac vs. Wild. Let's see here. Borometer. No.
No, I think the pacing is really, really strong.
Mhm.
It doesn't really take any time off. It's good.
Because even the stuff with Congress, whoever that congressman was, the way that he delivered his lines made me laugh.
And honestly, I talked about it a little bit in our Daredevil Born Again review, or Reborn, whatever the fuck that show is called.
I keep on calling it the wrong name too.
I'm a sucker for like courtroom stuff and
Yeah.
procedural stuff like that, so I actually really like that stuff.
Halloween. Will this movie wane over time? Possibly. I'm pretty high on it right now.
Maybe because it does sort of lack a major pants tent moment. It's just beat for beat really strong throughout, but it doesn't have
Yeah, because
a massive
so
scene.
this isn't a super spoiler. You figure that this is going to happen, where you're going to have Sentry versus the other, let's call them heroes.
Yeah.
It's Superman versus the other heroes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as good as, say, like Justice League, or even the battle in the Eternals when they have the Superman-like character in there. This is, I think, has a little more fun with it, but the other ones are better looking. Or even think about, and it's animated, but oh fuck, what's it called? The show that you're still watching.
Invincible.
Invincible. The first episode of Invincible, where Omni-Man is fighting the rest of the Justice League. Like, that's fucking way better than this.
And I think part of that is because Sentry's pulling punches a little bit, right? He's allowing them to get away.
You said that I'm stronger than a god. He had a little bit of Anakin Skywalker to him. We just saw Revenge of the Sith.
The glowy eyes, a little bit.
Like the glowy eyes, but like the dead the dead way that he delivered what he was saying too.
Mm-hmm. And then the god complex once he realizes how strong he is.
Aquater World. I like it better than Aqua World. Not Aqua.
Sure.
It's Water World.
No, that's the sequel.
Max Credit Union. Who are you giving credit to?
I think it's got to be Florence Pugh. She's the heart and soul of this movie. She's what makes everything go.
Yeah.
They lean on her on the emotional moments. She crushes it. I think it's Florence Pugh.
I agree. Best Black Widow movie so far.
I think it is. I think you're right.
Plemonade. Who you giving Plemonade to? I'll jump in on this one. Taskmaster. Justice for Taskmaster.
I want to say Lewis Pullman, but he's probably in it too much. Lewis Pullman is maybe Rookie of the Year for this one. If I can't go Pullman, I'd actually say Geraldine Viswanathan as Mel. I think she did a good job being like, I'm just in a position and I'm trying to do my job, but like, hey, I'm recognizing things are fucked up. I thought she was pretty good too. Oh,
back to Max Credit Union real quick. I want to give credit for them to, so they pretty good movie here with a bunch of spare parts, I would say. Characters that we didn't necessarily love from movies. That
no one was asking for
love.
This group of characters.
No one was asking for this group of characters, but besides Bucky Barnes. We'll give him that because we've been asking for something more Bucky And we got one pretty cool fucking Bucky scene in this.
Faux show.
But this is all spare parts slapped together with silly glue. And
That's what we call it.
that's what we call it. And the end result is I find a few of them way more likable. Some of them are on that path to redemption. And I do like how, say, like with Walker, it was someone in Captain America Boys who was trying to always do the right thing, went down like the wrong path, and now he's just a complete dickhead.
Hey, did you want the super glue? No. Oh, you wanted the crazy glue.
Silly. Oh,
No.
the silly
I'll
glue.
take the silly glue.
A
Please.
silly glue.
That's
Like
the warm porridge.
Well, no, but like that's the best kind of glue because it holds really well at first, and you think you did the job well, and then we all have a laugh and everything falls apart.
Goo, Pants Tent City, Excite Bike Mania in this movie. I thought it was sort of essentially the same sequence, but it's kind of two different scenes. You talk about Sentry sort of fighting everyone. I thought it was super awesome. The visual aspect of when that gets hit and then the comes over.
Yeah.
And like the ensuing 5 minutes was great. And it was like, oh, I don't really know what's happening here, but it looks cool.
I'm going to bleep what you just said because I feel like that's a spoiler, but it's okay.
I don't think it is.
Well, guess who has control of the edit? Me, Jordan Hudson. That's who. Topical reference right there.
Gudon Hudson.
I'm the Jordan Hudson of this show, I would say. Excite Bike Mania, I really enjoyed the escape. I really enjoyed Red Guardian being introduced into this movie. I don't think anything is like super Excite Bike Mania. I don't think anything is like you're going to seek it out on YouTube. This is the scene that you need to go find.
Yeah.
But I think on the whole, it's very good. Maybe that Bucky scene, maybe when Bucky's like, I'm not a fucking senator. Like, what am I doing with my stupid slick back hair? I'll say this.
This is pushed back.
Let's take the credit. What's the opposite of max credit union?
It's I don't know. Foreclosure.
I did not care for the wig work in this. I don't think the wig work on Bucky was very good.
Goose bankruptcy department.
Yep. No good on the wigs.
Okay, fair enough.
For those of you tardy to the Mac and Goo party, we rate everything on a 40 hot dog rating system. Mac, I really enjoyed the overall theme and motif of this movie. I don't think it has anything that truly stands out, but I do think even with that, it stands out against other Marvel movies.
Sebastian stands out.
Old potato face. I really enjoyed my viewing. I'm probably going to go ahead. I might see it again in theaters.
Whoa.
I know. Florence Pugh is amazing in this. I think that Red Guardian is one of those Korg-type characters where you can give him something really mundane to say, and he's going to find a way to say it funny. I like the back and forth with him and the Winter Soldier because he's like, oh, God, we're equals. We're me and you.
He's like looked up to the Winter Soldier his whole life.
I had the Soviet version of it. Like I really enjoyed those two together. I think that Walker could have been a little more fleshed out. They could have done more with what his
I just don't think we're ever gonna like that character. So I think they appropriately like he was on the back burner a little bit.
But like I said too, the way that they were able to take all of these characters from phases 4 and 5 that we don't necessarily love, that we got bit parts of, and they're like, hey, remember them? Well, we're about to make them way more interesting. Like, they've tried to pull other characters from other movies, and it's just like, what is the point of this? This felt like it had a point. I enjoyed it. 34 hot dogs.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm in mostly total agreement with everything you said there. The stuff surrounding Sentry and the some of the climax of this movie I thought was really cool. Won't say anything further because it gets spoilery. Some really cool shots in this movie just in general. I thought the direction and cinematography was strong. There's a very relatable message in this movie. However, I do think that's going to turn some people off to it because they're coming to a superhero movie to sort of get away from that.
Mhm.
And I think that might bother some. However, I do think it's what makes this movie better than a lot of other superhero movies. Like I said a few minutes back, this story and this movie does a good job not making you question, wait, why isn't so and so coming now? Why isn't this hero here for X amount of reasons? It's pretty self-contained, and it stays in its lane. Pugh and Pullman are awesome. Harbour's good comic relief. Stan is, he easily falls back into that Bucky role. Walker, Russell as Walker was solid. Hannah John came in as Ghost, is like fine. Like, her
Ghost is kind
character's
of
tough.
underused, though. I will say
Yeah.
that. You have
Yeah,
a character that can fucking phase through shit.
and I also
And
feel like she's the
she's
least
in the back.
villainous out of
Yeah.
all these characters. Like, we never really disliked her or thought she was bad in the first place. I also thought, again, Julia Louis-Dreyfus was strong in her
Yeah.
expanded role. I have this at 35 hot dogs, Goo. My number 2 movie of 2025 behind
Same.
Sinners.
Same.
At 35 hot dogs in the MCU, Goo, that's my 13 to 18 range. I have No Way Home, Doctor Strange, Civil War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Iron Man. So those are really quality movies, good, borderline great movies, and I think this movie fits in very well in that grouping.
Yeah, I have it roughly, like you said, anywhere outside of the dozen of like 13 to 15 or 16, or even 13 to 19, but it falls in, I think, very easily with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where they're both pretty funny movies, but it is dealing with some deeper things, some heavier stuff, but you feel the love. You feel like it's not just being slapped together with spare parts from other movies. Well, it kind of is with spare characters, but you feel like the story isn't just slapped together.
I will say, though, I like Guardians 3 a tad more because it's a conclusion and it's tying things up and it's send-offs to characters and it's a little deeper. It's a little more emotional. This
And it's
is
also
like
dealing
that
with a
movie, but
character that we've known and loved for 10
yeah,
years.
this is
It's the
similar to
Rocket
that
Raccoon
movie,
story.
but not as good. Close, though. Close.
I mean, it is. Both are dealing with the depression of like the main character,
Yeah,
but we've known this raccoon for so much longer.
Raccoon.
All right, let's get to the spoilers. Spoilers. Until Max done blowing his nose.
Spoilers.
Yes.
One of the biggest questions we had, the biggest question we had surrounding this movie is what the fuck is up with the asterisk in Thunderbolts? We find out pretty early on it is the name of Yelena's youth soccer team, in which Red Guardian, her father, was the coach. And what they're essentially telling us, that was the last time she was happy. And so it sort of becomes a running joke amongst the group, and they actually end up calling themselves facetiously the Thunderbolts. The second part of that, Goo, there's a double meaning here with the asterisk. This movie, called The Thunderbolts, they probably so badly wanted to call The New Avengers. And that's what we see at the end of the movie. The title card flips from Thunderbolts to The New Avengers, because at the end of this movie, in the post-credit, we get The New Avengers. And this also finishes, before we get to the post-credit, we see them all, coming towards Val. They're like, hey, we would like to kill her, but we can't, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And that motherfucker tricks them into a press conference, a little Iron Man-esque, and she announces them as her big overarching plan.
But as Sentry is raining down concrete upon New York and they're saving them, you could see the wheels turning in her head of like, oh, I'm going to use this because I obviously can't show this shadow fella to the press right now. What I do love here is that right after she makes the announcement, we get into the credits where it's newspaper headlines and everything else of everyone of all these publications questioning, these are not my Avengers, which is the exact thing I said when she introduced them. I'm like, people would not accept. You have murderers. They might accept Ghost. I don't know. But you have 3 bootleg Captain Americas who are all known for being bad people and have all killed many people, and they're all well known for this. No one would accept them. Luckily, we got the credits where it was the headlines of like, not my Avengers, which is what I said to myself. And then the post credits, the mid credit was funny, but the post credit of the fighting over who the Avengers are. Like when they
So
formed
this
this,
is yeah, this
they had
is the best.
they had 3 bootleg caps, but not even the dumb bootleg cap with wings. There's too many caps out there.
So this is the best little tidbit, the best little nugget in the post. Well, maybe not the best, but maybe for longtime MCU fans and people that are feeling like you for the hashtag not my Avengers. So it cuts to 14 months later. I'm not 100% sure why. I think we're roughly in the summer of 2027 in the MCU. We see the new A logo for the new Avengers. It's a little different. And they're talking about how Sam Wilson has his own team of Avengers separate from the new Avengers. And these two teams of Avengers got beef with each other. They're basically talking about how they're kind of getting shut out from the space stuff. And it doesn't sound like Fury is even really acknowledging, Saber's not really acknowledging this new Avengers. They're kind of
I'm not
stuck
sure that Fury
to
is even
Earth level
involved
stuff.
anymore, though. I feel like
I think,
Fury's doing other stuff.
oh, fine, whatever. But Saber,
Yeah.
they're sort of shutting out this new Avengers team, and they're kind of stuck to just being Earth-bound heroes instead of space stuff. And it's interesting to note that they're setting the seeds for some infighting amongst our heroes, as we know coming up in the next Avengers movie, Doomsday.
v Avengers v X-Men.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that infighting sort of stuff. I also thought it was interesting to note here that Bob is just hanging around being a dude, but he hasn't yet gone back to Sentry or turned back into Sentry, because if he does, there's always the chance that the Void can creep back in. This sort of dark personality that's involved with him.
It's very Legion-esque.
It is. It's a good point. That's a good comparison. Very Legion-esque. And the part that Goo bleeped out earlier when I was talking about Pants tent-ish moment, when he's maybe gonna kill Val, has Val up against the wall, and Mel hits the switch. You see him kind of like shut down, and then there's this like blanket of black that comes over the character, and he turns into the Void. I thought that was really cool. And then the next 5 minutes, when he's just turning people into shadows, I didn't know if they were getting sent to the actual Void that we've already dealt with in the MCU,
or if they're getting killed too.
Yeah, or that. And then it sounds like, or it looks like, at least in my estimation, that the Void essentially can create a pocket universe that he sends these people to, where they have to deal with their like worst memories. And I thought that was really interesting, and it sort of leads into the whole theme of this movie. And then Goo, at the very end of this post credit, we get Yelena talking to her AI system, and it says extra dimensional ship entering the atmosphere, and you're like, huh? And then you hear a little bit of the Fantastic Four theme, and we see the Fantastic Four ship coming towards Earth, darting towards Earth. And I thought, it was my suspicion that Four Stick was going to end with that, their world exploding and them jumping into the MCU at the end of their movie. I'm pretty confident now that might happen in like the middle of their movie, because there's no fucking way they're going to give us the end of that movie.
They might, because they've given us
no chance.
They've given us some teases of like these characters
not
are going to
conclusions
join
of movies though. They've given us scenes, not conclusions.
Yeah, no, but not conclusions. But they've given us, like, we don't know how they're going to end up doing this, but they're kind of telling us, like, they're going to enter this universe, this world at this time. We don't know how. We don't know why.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is I felt like the end of that Fantastic Four movie was going to end like that, them coming into our MCU, our world, our main, what is it?
I still think it is.
And I don't think there's any fucking chance that's the case now.
I still think it does.
That mid-credit that you jumped over, by the way, was pretty funny. It was only 30 seconds, but Red Guardian trying to get recognized with the box of Wheaties. That was a good scene.
That's like Derek Lowe going to a bar with his Red Sox jersey on.
Goo, I have here, it's one of my first notes when I left the movie. LOL Taskmaster. It felt like this was an acknowledgement by everyone at Marvel, like, okay, we fucked up this character. We're going to kill her instantly.
She got slip knotted. That was the first thing I thought about, is as soon as she was killed, I was like, oh, I didn't see that actress in many of the press tours. Kind of like how with David Ayer's Suicide Squad, you had the team on one side and Slipknot was kind of off to the side. And you remember that in that movie, his head was blown off in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. And it was also like maybe the coolest kill of the whole movie with
Yeah.
Ghost phasing in and then fucking bop, bop. So that was really funny. Um, I thought the cool sci-fi aspects of this movie were like those strange type stuff in the void pocket
Yeah.
universe. That was pretty cool. And the whole thing around this movie was Val is getting prosecuted, or they're having a court case or a hearing to what's the word, impeach her.
Yeah.
She's the head of the CIA. She is running this group called the Ox Group, which was working on Project Century. Basically, they were taking down and out people like Robert Reynolds and injecting them with a shit ton of stuff to see if they could turn them into essentially a corporate superhero. So you are getting a little bit of like Homelander type vibes here. So that was really what this whole movie
Well, I
was
thought it was
surrounding.
more like, who is the brother in Gen V? The one that's a little unhinged, can't control what he's
Sam.
doing.
Sam.
I
Yeah.
thought it was very Sam-esque.
Yeah, no, that it was similar to that, but what it's harkening on is, or what it's talking about is like you're being created by these corporate entities and being trying to be controlled by them.
So let me ask you this, Mac. We heard of Falcon Cap creating his own team. Who do we think is on that team? I have some names here. Tell me yes or no.
Okay.
Scott Lang, Ant-Man.
Yeah, it feels like he's going to be a part of Sam's team for sure.
New Falcon.
Yeah, he's definitely
Obvious.
in
I
there.
think he's the most obvious of them. Kate Bishop.
So this is where I'm getting a little confused because they were clearly setting up Young Avengers 2 or 3 years ago with Kate and with Yelena. And I feel like if Kate's going to go anywhere, it'll be Yelena's team.
Maybe what I'm thinking is that they're already off to the side. I think that new Cap, Sam Wilson Cap, is going to put his team together and he'll have some younger Avengers on there. And then after these next 2 movies, they're going to merge together and only the younger ones will be the Avengers.
Sure. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I just feel like if Sean Gunter abolished James Gunter head, Kate Bishop's picking Yelena's side.
I'm not sure if she does because they also had some...
Again, all she does is shoot arrows, so she can't really help in space-time stuff.
No, I'm aware of that, unless she has to shoot a floppy disk. She-Hulk?
I'm trying to think here where she would fall. She doesn't seem well liked, and she got made fun of.
None of that really matters.
She might fall into the rough and tough kind of outsider.
None of that really matters.
It does.
No, it's just about who would Sam try and recruit to his team.
Oh. Well, I'm talking about who they would pick if they were given the option.
It doesn't matter who they pick.
Well, it does to me.
Because
I don't think she's going to help Sam.
Because DeFontaine has already put her team together.
Yeah,
so though that is the team, I'm trying to see who else who might go with Sam.
I don't think She-Hulk.
I'm not saying pick one side.
Well, I'm telling you which side they would pick if given the opportunity.
Well, do you think that's Skarn? You think Skarn?
Is that his name? Scorn?
Skarn. That's the Hulk son, right? With
Agent Michael Skarn?
Yeah. Skarn.
I don't think that's his name.
Baby Hulk Skarn.
Scarf.
It's Smurf. You think the Smurfs would join Sam?
100%. They're in on Sam's side.
All right, fine. Any of the Marvels. I'm thinking that Captain Marvel is no longer going to be associated, and she never really was associated with any side, but maybe Photon or Ms. Marvel?
Yeah, Ms. Marvel, again, it felt like they were setting her up for Young Avengers, which might still be in play. I feel like she would probably be on Sam's side because she was looking up to these heroes.
I don't care who's on whose side. They just need to be recruited to a team.
Well, they're going to recruit everyone we've seen, Goop. But I think she might want to go Sam's side because she's looking up to those heroes she's known for 10 years.
And then, I feel like Billy Maximoff is still a little ways off from being used.
Yeah, and I also feel like I don't know if he wants to get involved at all in any of this.
Kind of like I feel like Thor is not going to be involved in any of this, but then will be pulled in when there is the threat of doom.
Yeah, or it to me, like inevitably, Sentry is going to Bob's going to have to turn back into Sentry, and then we're going to have to bring in a couple heroes just to combat Sentry because he's so powerful.
I did like that line of, you said that I'm stronger than all the Avengers, and one of the Avengers is a god.
Yeah.
Therefore,
Just kind of like, oh, you got me there.
I also like when
Well,
he dyed his hair blonde and he was so
well,
he was so focused on it.
do you like it?
I kept on bringing it up. Anything else?
No. This is a good movie. It's
Yeah,
a good
check it
movie
out.
that I don't think is gonna go up or go down really in the long run. It's self-contained. It's fun enough. There's a lot of action. There's a good message. It's a good movie.
Let's get into Maxac.
And Max, that could be anything. It could be a boat. And Mac, in the movie, one of the jokes, one of the running gags of it is the name Thunderbolts. It is Yelena's youth soccer team from when she was 6. They were the worst team in the league. They had 0 wins. One kid took a crap at center field. I ask you, Mac, what is the worst youth team that you ever played for and your most embarrassing moment?
That's a good question. You and I both played on a lot of bad teams over the years.
We were in
I
the
don't.
wrong division, to be fair, though. We were on hockey teams that should have been in lesser division, lesser conferences
Yeah.
because of the number of kids that tried out.
The only real things that are standing out right here, not necessarily worst teams, but worst moment or most embarrassing moment for me. I think I was 6 or 7 playing little kickers. I was on the white team. I got a soccer ball off the face, lost a tooth.
Oh.
Tooth gone. I'm out of the game. I'm crying. I got a bloody mouth. Hated everything about it. Might have been the last year I played soccer. Most embarrassing moment is between 2 for me. You will remember this well. Our sophomore year, we played in the state tournament, and I gave up a goal from outside the blue line, which you can relate very much to.
I'm about to get to it.
When we were in Canada, when we were like 10 or 9 or 10 in that age range, we played in the Can-Am tournament in a division we should not have been in, and we lost every game like 11-1. That was pretty embarrassing too.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know if this counts. Our freshman year of high school, we played, was it Belmont Hill?
Our JV team played Belmont Hill's freshman team, and
But
we
it was
lost
our
11-1.
JV team that was about to be the varsity team the next year. So pretty much anyone that was not a senior played in this game.
Yeah.
And it was against
the varsity
Belmont
team the
Hill
next year that did well in the Middlesex League
Yeah.
and made the state tournament, and Belmont Hill's freshman team shit on our chest.
We lost 15-1.
I think it was 11 or 12-1.
Are you okay? But either way, and they also stopped.
To be fair, though, we had Jimmy the Spider O'Reilly for a
I'm
whole
about
period.
to get to that. We also they stopped trying, like they stopped scoring midway
They were
through
just
the game.
playing keep away.
But what also happened, so we had 3 goalies in the game. It was Mac, me, and Jimmy the Spider O'Reilly. We rotated through all 3 of us to the point where they had to put me back in. Like all of us did so bad, they're like, all right, fuck it, put Goo back in.
You know what it felt like, and you and I years later have played in men's league as goalies. I felt like playing in men's league where people just weren't playing defense, and you're constantly facing 3-on-1s, 2-on-1s, and it was not fun.
Like they also scored from everywhere. Like we're not saying that we played well because we didn't, but also the team did not play well. So worst team that I played on was probably my freshman year. That varsity team did not do very well.
That was a bad squad. Yeah.
I was able to play some goalie in that league. I would describe myself as inconsistent.
I'd say that's accurate.
Yeah, I had flashes of looking pretty good. I was not consistently good, though. That year, I believe it was Stoneham, they scored from the other end of the ice. Now, why did I become a goalie? It's because I wanted to play. I thought that was my best path to play. I like being depended upon, and I like the spotlight. I'm not going to lie about that. This was when they scored because there was a good amount of people in the crowd. We were at home, and hearing the dead silence of what happened from there, and you're just like, oh my goodness.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
I believe they had cleared it out of their own end, and it hit off the boards about center ice and came in on you at like a little bit of an angle, and you just went to go play it with your stick.
I just went to go stick as opposed to putting glove behind, as opposed to putting knee behind.
You just straight up whiffed on it.
I just straight up whiffed on it, and I'm not going to say that was the end of my high school hockey career because I was on the team the next 3 years.
Yeah.
But after that, I was never relied upon again. Now, it was not only me. You also emerged as a very good goalie our sophomore year.
I hit my stride. Yeah.
But that also was the point where the coaches said, we don't think he's our future. We don't think that we can put him back out there and rely on him to play well. I think it was actually after that game where the coach pulled me and the senior goalie into the locker room and said, look, both of you are terrible, but someone has to play.
Yeah, the incumbent who you were the backup to freshman year, I didn't even make the team.
Yeah.
Was also not very good. But you and I both knew I was getting better as the year go on. We both felt like we were better than him. He was just a senior and we were freshmen. And then literally 1.5 years later, what you went through with me, I went through with the goalie that was way better than both of us. And I was like, this is an interesting thing.
I also went through that with him too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then senior year, I was like, all right, well, neither Goo or I are going to play as backup. So I was like, let me try to skate back out.
And let me tell you this, I admire you for just doing it because I offered it to the coach and he took that as an insult.
I think he held it against me, and that's why I got buried on the depth chart as a forward, but I was not bad. I was really good when we were younger, and I didn't have the legs I used to have, but I should have been playing with a better cast of characters than I was.
This was good story time. This was good youth hockey story time.
This is two goalies, no cups here. That's the alternative version of our podcast.
I had the biggest cup in the game. I had the biggest cup that anyone has ever used as a goalie. That was the thing that I spent the most amount of money on.
I just love, and it did carry over a little bit to games. In practice, especially, you would purposefully hug the blocker side of the post to force people to shoot glove.
I put my glove on
so
the
you
ice.
Could make spectacular glove saves.
I used to tap my glove on the ice to make people try and go top glove hand. It was my best quality. Why would I try and go away from it? That's all we got. So, Mac, where can the people find us?
You can find us on Instagram and X at Mac and Goo Podcast. Every other platform where you're Mac & Goo. Mac Shift 7 that includes Facebook, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Spreaker, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or on Spotify. But more importantly, get on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars. If you do that, we'll get you a free Mac and Goo t-shirt from the folks over at Watertown Sportswear, watertownsportswear.com. Extra screen printing and embroidery.
I'm going to toss this out there for everybody. I'm not sure if we are going to get you a free t-shirt.
Well, maybe.
We gotta talk to our former.
I actually did you make it to that like little alumni out?
I forgot.
Out? Yeah. He was the assistant on those teams. Goo and I were talking about, and we all knew in the locker room he was the better coach.
Yes.
But he wasn't able to make the changes he could make because he was the assistant and Goo and I's goalie coach.
Yeah, he was awesome. He's the best coach.
Still the best. Still the best. And then ultimately, I like to think, Goo, we have 1% to do with the state championship they win. What? I don't know.
The culture that we
8
created.
years later,
that was the culture that we created.
Because he learned from coaching us, and then he took that on.
Yeah. All right, tpublic.com merch. You can buy shirts. Join us at the top of next week. Next Goose Day, we'll do a Goose dump, and then hopefully Friendship soon.
Yeah, there's a couple main movies coming out. We're getting into the swing of things here. There's going to be a lot of movies. It's going to be a lot of movies over the next couple of months. And Goo, not only did our coach win that state championship, our high school captain was an assistant coach on that team. So we molded those minds.
Congratulations to Watertown. All right, Tuesdays are Goose Days. I abuse kangaroos.
Bye.
Burton.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.
Now it's time for girls jumping on trampolines. Trampolines!